Great to have you with us here on Intruders TV Music, and we'd like to welcome you to the illustrious Quartz Electronic Music Awards right here in Paris. It's our pleasure to be able to introduce Matthew Herbert. Matthew, how's Paris treating you so far?
Yeah, it's okay. I haven't been here long, but it's good.
Okay, just arrived, and I understand that you're up for an award tonight. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what it is because it's the first time I've been here, but it's the Quartz Honour, and I know that I guess Stockhausen and Bjork have won it previously, so I'm in good company, and I guess you have to ask me afterwards what it's like, really, because it's my first time here. So.
And are you familiar with the electronic music scene over here in France? Do you play here a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this kind of music for 20 years, so I've been here a lot and had made friends here and had good support from radio stations and people here. So yeah, you know, I feel like people treat me nicely here. So.
Well, that's fantastic, and it's our absolute pleasure to be talking to you right now. And something I've noticed about your music, it tends to form a lot around influences from kind of a political sphere. You cite people like Sarah Palin and Tony Blair and that sort of thing as influences behind your music. Why? What is it about those characters which compel you to write music?
I think because they're such sort of despicable human beings, really. Is that they're like
strong words?
Yeah, well, you know, I think we have opinions about what's right and what's wrong, and we have there's different parts of the political spectrum. I think the problem with people like Palin and Tony Blair is they talk about it in a moral language, as though they're on the side of they're on some kind of moral crusade, or they're on the side of the right and the just. And from where the rest of the world sits, that's not necessarily visible or apparent. And so I don't think it's for them to decide whether they're right or whether they're wrong. And I think they're there to represent the views of ordinary people. And I think it's important that music should try to address these important issues, and that music contributes to the idea of art pricking the bubble, or art taking a position on things and not just happy to be a soundtrack to the latest Mercedes commercial, or happy to just be heard in Topshop, or happy to just play in the background, or just be a DJ night for a Saturday night. That music should be engaged, and music should give a shit, because if it doesn't, it will just be rendered to just the equivalent of a pair of socks or a pair of leg warmers, or just a happy like decoration. And I think music's got more to offer than that.
And music, it's always been such a great communication tool, like it's been used in the past to support trouble in Africa and that sort of thing. But with your music, are you trying to kind of single out these people as kind of tyrants, or is it more just an influence when you're sitting down and writing music, say?
I mean, that's a very, what you're talking about is a very narrow aspect of my work. I think that if I listen to Miles Davis, I'm not inspired to take up the trumpet, or maybe a better example would be John Coltrane or Charlie Parker. I'm not inspired to take up the saxophone because they're incredible players and I'll never potentially be as good as them. So I'm much more inspired by Jerry Halliwell, or someone who I feel is getting far too much exposure for the amount of talent that they've got, or the amount of ideas they've got to have. So I'm inspired to do better, or to try and push on, or to make things, unsettle the status quo, or to challenge those things. So, I do film music, I do live shows, I do DJ work, I do music for theatre, I make records, I produce music for other people. So I do a whole variety of things, and it's just I know each of those things has a different criteria and a different raison d'etre or different purpose. You know.
Certainly, and you mentioned briefly kind of the pop aspect of music. Have you worked a lot within pop music, or has it generally just been focusing on your own work?
I think how music is distributed is as political as the music itself, so I've not been very comfortable with the idea of working with major labels or big companies, because I don't find their business model very doesn't seem to coexist very well with the creative principle. I mean, the creative principle is if you do something that people like, then you're very unlikely to repeat yourself. You don't want to repeat yourself. If you've created done a great painting, you don't want to then copy it. You want to do something else. But the capitalist business model says that you should repeat that, and I don't find that those two things don't exist side by side very well for me. The idea of repeating something and the idea of creating or trying to be original. And so I've always just done my own thing, and I'm sort of proudly independent and proud to be part of an independent scene. I release my own music, and I've always been independent. Having said that, I've done pop stuff. You know, I've worked with R.E.M. and with Bjork and with Roisin Murphy and various other people, and you know, it's about working creatively with people in their fields and seeking collaboration, blah blah blah. But I mean, I think the thing is, it's just, you know, there's a whole variety of different ways that music operates, and I work in all different kinds of spheres of that stuff.
Absolutely, and it's fascinating for you to bring up the business side of it, because obviously the music industry is changing quite a lot with the internet and such. What's your take on the business side of music? Is it something that you think has changed for good, or should record labels still be pushing for the hard sales?
I mean, I think the problem is there is no record business really. I mean, 87% of sales are generated from 1% of new releases. So it's a very, very small percentage of music that's getting out there. Record shops don't exist anymore. HMV is about to go into receivership. So there's going to be no record distribution centres in Britain apart from Tesco's and Asda and things like that. So there is no record business in that sense. And I think that's bad in one way, but I think it's also we reap what we sow, you know, and I think the biggest thing that will last is ideas, not businesses, you know. And it's like whether those ideas will be relevant in 50 years or 100 years' time. And that's what I'm interested in, is ideas. I'm not interested in making money, I'm interested in ideas. So.
Well, that's a profound sentiment, but moving away from the business model, there seems to be a trend towards a lot of artists, particularly in the electronic sphere, using a number of aliases to distribute their work, and I know that's something that you've done with several of your releases. Yeah. What is it about having many guises that kind of compels you to release under those aliases?
I think, first of all, it just frees you up from being one thing or just being one product or one brand, all those modern hideous words that are about. I think it's the idea of being able to diffuse your ideas over a number of different identities. But the greatest thing was it just gave you the freedom. If 1 minute you wanted to release a rock album, you could do that. If you wanted to do hip-hop records, you could do that. If you wanted to work with an orchestra, you could do that. So it just gave you artistic freedom, and I think that was something that was principally appealing about that.
And what's next for you? Because you've mentioned, obviously you've been working in music for over 2 decades, and what's next? Is it more of the film work that you want to do, or concentrate on your own releases, or what's next for Matthew Herbert?
The next record I'm doing is called One Pig, and it's made out of a pig, and I was there at its birth, and I recorded every 2 weeks its life, and I wasn't allowed to record its death. I recorded it being cut up and being butchered, and then recorded it being eaten. So my next record is a combination of a year's worth of sounds of that pig's life, from birth to death, and turning into record. And that's my remit, I think, is to turn sound into music. That's what I've done for the last 20-30 years, and that's what I want to carry on doing. And for me, that's the front line of what's exciting about music at the moment, is the ability technology has given us to instantly turn any sound into music. So my next record's made out of a pig.